Today we're talking to Paula Kellerer, the superintendent of the Nampa School District, about what school might look like this fall when students return to school. Paula, welcome. So
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
How are you doing personally, and how are the teachers doing as we near the end of this very, very unusual school year?
Well, we're grateful to be here. Last Friday was our last day with students, which was kind of bittersweet. We always have those end of year activities that we like to do with students. Some of them we were able to recreate online or through virtual parades with social distancing. So it was kind of bittersweet when we said goodbye to our students last week. And this week we're gearing up already to learn. So our teachers are already pivoting and focusing toward the fall, learning about additional online techniques, learning about social emotional learning, particularly with our students. So we haven't really taken opportunity to rest yet. That will happen on Friday when our teachers, their last day, and hopefully they'll be able to go home and get some rest and recuperate over the summer.
It must have been a very challenging period because we've never done this before. Educators have never been in this situation before. Of course, none of us have been for that matter, but teachers and students in particular, you must have had some challenges this spring with this.
We did have a lot and really a tight time frame. Nampa had the ability to already be one-to-one, so that was really helpful. And we had a first round of training in all of our buildings related to how to integrate technology into a classroom. The purpose was a face-to-face classroom, but many of those concepts also work well in a wholly online environment. So that helped us. But in addition to that, our teachers did an amazing job on a Tuesday prepping to turn around right after spring break and be ready to greet their students in a remote or virtual. They were amazing, absolutely amazing.
That is amazing. Paul, what do you think that school is going to look like next September when the kids come back to school?
So it'd be really nice if we honestly knew that. We have in our community folks who really anticipate it being school as usual, face-to-face, no additional precautions or changes. We have other folks who have already told us in a survey, our parents, we have about 6% of our parents, which represents about 800 students in our district, a little over 800, who said, we're not coming back in the fall. We know that it's not going to be safe. And so we are prepping to serve and prepare for any one of those scenarios.
Yeah.
In a email home, we talked about plan A, which would be normal. And honestly, we feel like that's not going to be highly, we're not sure that that would be the way that is actually going to happen. We have plan C, which is wholly online, depending on what happens in August. And then we really have this plan B, which is a variety of ideas in between, blended learning, alternate scheduling, bringing some kids in while some kids are home. Sometimes it's just about additional social distancing and they are in school. Sometimes all of those plans include how we care for vulnerable students, vulnerable staff members. So we really don't know. We do know that we will have a fully online school here in the Nampa School District, NSD online, because we do know our parents have already told us that some of them really want that option until things in our community have settled down. Perhaps there's a vaccine or something like that. So we do know that part for sure. And then we're planning for a whole host of continuum in between there.
So how important in your mind is it that students actually have internet? They're already one-to-one, you're one-to-one, which is great. That's being very far-sighted. Who would have imagined that we'd be in this situation, but because you are, that is an advantage. How important is it to get connectivity, however, to every student's home where every student has the same ability to learn?
So connectivity is essential. It's probably our biggest barrier that we have faced this spring. It's the foundation of equity, so that all students have the ability to access their learning and to be able to progress. We also have been really fortunate because we were not dealing with trying to find devices or deploying devices because we already have them. We could start right away on connectivity. We moved all of our buildings to be Wi-Fi hotspots. So parents and their kids could be in the parking lot to access. And while that was going on, we secured several hotspots, Wi-Fi, personal Wi-Fi, and we were able to deploy those. So um, a little expensive, honestly, and the federal stimulus money will help us purchase that. But getting it deployed and getting it accessible for all of our kids has been our biggest challenge. We're feeling really pretty good that the majority of our students have that. We are still doing maybe 40 or 50 students who are doing paper packets because we haven't been able to secure access to the connectivity. So we have had to be creative in a few places.
So you touched on finances there a second ago. So we know that the governor has already notified school districts that they are going to have a reduction of funds for the next fiscal year. So how are you maneuvering through the financial part here? Uh, what are your thoughts and plans and hopes for funding?
Sure. So we want to start with the fact that our 5% holdback in Nampa represents about $4.5 million. That's about 5% of our budget. Our anticipated stimulus payout is somewhere a little over 3 million. So you can see that there still is a gap.
Yeah.
It doesn't completely fill that gap. And in addition to that, we're having to respond by doing some more things, creating an online school, securing content to make sure that it's delivered in an appropriate way, in a high quality way. So it is our spring in education where we generally feel like we need to do more with a little bit less.
Yeah.
So we are planning really diligently. It's caused us to really look at our focus and really examine our priorities, because we don't have room to not fund our priorities and then add a few more things. Those few more things have to go by the wayside.
Are there, like, do you have ideas about how you can build that, a bridge between what the state's taking away and the federal funds, and or does it all have to come from savings?
Well, we do have a couple of thoughts related to that. We are considering reducing our fund balance by 1% to help us a little bit. We carry a 5% fund balance. We are considering that in order to meet some of the gap that we're experiencing. There are some things that we will do without. We are really fortunate in Nampa that our patrons passed a levy just in March. So our devices are secure. That's how we pay for the majority of our devices. That would be a really difficult challenge for us if we weren't able to do that. So we're grateful to our patrons for that. And then we're really honestly shifting some facility and deferring maintenance in some cases, again, which is a common technique. We'll do without this in a facility in order to make sure that our biggest priority, teachers working with students, can be funded well.
Yeah, you've touched on this a couple of times. The social emotional,
Mm-hmm.
the social emotional, not just for teachers or not just for students, how that's very, very important, but also for teachers and also for administrators like yourself. How do you deal with the social emotional at this very difficult time where everybody is going through a very challenging period? What's the role of the school in making sure all those different folks are taken care of socially and emotionally?
Yeah, it's one of probably our most important tasks here in this spring. So certainly we want to make sure that the academic gap doesn't increase, but really a higher priority was to manage and to monitor the social and mental health of our students and teachers. We've been able to redeploy many of our classified staff, our front office staff, certainly our counselors and social workers and psychologists. into touching base with students in a really focused manner, listening careful for those cues that something isn't going on, making sure that our students and their parents have access to somebody to talk with. So we have been really blessed in that way. We also have been able to secure, it's a software called Gaggle, which monitors our students' email correspondence and if they're on our system and the work that they're turning in, and it looks for keywords. And we've been able to intervene in multiple situations when a student has said something's not right, or they've indicated that maybe they're considering something which isn't a wise choice. So we've been able to intervene quite quickly because of that. We have used the word grace around here a lot with teachers and students. So we have worked to be careful that our goal is to increase learning and to add, but not to punish students. Even though they might have connectivity, they might not have the same resources in their home. They might not have a place to sit down at a table that's safe and secure and quiet and purposed for learning. So there are a lot of variables there. So we've been thoughtful about moving people forward in learning, but allowing some grace also in this time. Students and parents are dealing with some pretty significant issues. Some of them are dealing with health issues, unemployment, loss of childcare, moms and dads at home for the first time with their children all day. Lots of things going on that give us opportunities. We've encouraged our staff to take breaks. We've encouraged them to do what they can within the time frame of the day, and then to walk away and to care for their own families and to care for their own physical and mental health. And I think giving them permission to do that has helped. Sometimes we don't always follow our good advice, but I do think saying it out loud and saying, hey, it's okay. This is a Memorial Day weekend. Put it down for a while, step away, and then come back ready to go on Tuesday.
Well, I think the Nampa students and staff are so lucky to have a superintendent who really thinks about the whole person. And it sounds like you're doing a great job of balancing the learning, which is so important, of course, also with the human side, which is taking care of people, because kids that are emotionally distressed can't learn, and teachers that are stressed can't teach up to their abilities. So looking at the whole person is very, very important. Well,
We heard
Paula,
that from, oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, we heard that from our parents in a survey really early on, about 2 weeks into our remote learning. We asked parents how it was going, and we heard this plea that we were socking it to them, that there was a lot of work coming their way and they weren't able to balance that. And they really were asking for balance. So we were able to adjust and monitor the work that we were sharing, and giving not really, well, actually a break on Wednesdays so that students could catch up, so they could work on assignments and have some space to just be on a Wednesday. So we made those adjustments about 2 weeks in, and the feedback from parents has been really positive, related to the fact that they feel like they can have balance in this really crazy time.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, Paula, thank you so much for being in the IBE Zoom classroom. Appreciate your time, and we really wish you the best of luck as you start the new school year in the fall.
Thank you.
We're here for you. Just remember that.
Perfect. Thank you.